Recovering from a shark attack, doctors and first responders have an update on the woman who survived a terrifying moment off the San Diego coast.
It's about the car, it's about the cyclist, it's about the pedestrian, it's about transit.
A balancing act on two wheels, the plan to get more people on bikes in San Diego, and the people who say they're not moving fast enough.
One of the greatest treasures of adopting a senior dog is knowing that you're giving that dog a second chance.
It could be contagious, the joy of finding a new family for a pet in its golden years. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. A Vista woman is doing remarkably well after she nearly lost her life during a shark attack off the coast of San Onofre Beach last week. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Leanne Erickson was gravely wounded during the attack. The shark reportedly ripped skin and muscle from the back of her leg between the buttocks and the knee. Scripps Health surgeon Gail Tamanaga says Erickson's already undergone 2 surgeries.
First surgery was mainly to control bleeding. She went back a second time to clean up the wound and to have partial closure and put some acellular graft on.
The mother of 3 is conscious and able to respond when asked questions. She won't be able to talk until the breathing tube comes out. That's expected to happen soon. Erickson's family stood behind the surgeon during the news conference. Tamanaga read a statement on their behalf.
We are grateful for all the concern, prayers, and good wishes we have received in recent days from many friends and strangers who have reached out to us from across the country and indeed the world.
Erickson's life was saved by quick action from a lot of people. Camp Pendleton Fire Chief David Lewis says there was a crowd around her when he arrived on the scene. Someone had performed first aid, and they were applying pressure to the wound to reduce bleeding.
Her boyfriend, Dusty, he's really the hero or the lifesaver in this incident. He kept a cool head. He was able to get her up on the board and swim her to shore.
Lewis says his trauma training kicked in once he arrived, but he says it wasn't something he was prepared for because shark attacks in local waters are rare. There have only been 12 attacks in more than 6 decades. Leanne Erickson's road to recovery is far from complete. She's expected to undergo additional surgeries. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
San Diego District Attorney Bonnie DeManis says her office is working to be more transparent. Tonight, she released details and videos connected to 5 recent San Diego County officer and deputy-involved shootings, including one at a Linda Vista daycare in January.
Stop! Don't move! Don't stop! 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 Put your up!
DeManis tells reporters the man in the video shot by police was high on meth, and the gun he was carrying turned out to be a BB gun. Police shot him as he scaled the fence of the daycare. In another case, also in January, DeManis says El Cajon police shot a man who had a knife after 2 attempts to bring him down with a taser failed. DeManis says she hopes releasing these details builds public confidence.
But I also think it shows the public how officers are in situations where they have to make split-second decisions often, and there are a lot of things going on at the same time, and they have to look out for the safety of the community, the safety of other officers, and for themselves as well.
The DA says all 5 people shot by police in these cases were under the influence of drugs and/or alcohol. Each survived. $900,000. That is reportedly how much the government paid someone to break into the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone. California Senator Dianne Feinstein cited the amount during a Senate Judiciary hearing this week, although the information is still considered classified by the FBI. The agency also won't say who hacked the phone. The Associated Press and other news outlets have sued the FBI for keeping that information a secret. A new assembly bill would prevent landlords from threatening tenants with deportation. It would also protect renters in the country illegally from questions about their immigration status. Supporters of the bill say landlords often threaten tenants with deportations as a way to get them to vacate apartments. The measure will be up for a vote in the assembly within the next few weeks. May is National Bike Month. City and nonprofits are holding events highlighting the benefits of cycling: better health, less traffic, and lower greenhouse gas emissions. The city of San Diego wants to triple the share of people who commute by bike in the next 3 years, mostly by building out the city's network of bike lanes. But as KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains, progress is not fast as some would hope.
I'm biking along Garnett Avenue in Pacific Beach with Kathy Kean, a member of the city's Bike Advisory Committee. It's one of the main commercial streets in PB. There are bars, thrift stores, yoga studios, and a lot of cars. Most of the bicyclists we see are riding on the sidewalk, which is actually illegal. Kean says it's telling.
People tell you how they feel about the infrastructure by where they ride. People are riding on the sidewalk because they don't feel safe in the street. They feel safer on the sidewalk. They might not be safer on the sidewalk, but those bicyclists are saying we need to do better on this street.
Garnett Avenue is one of San Diego's most dangerous streets. There were at least 20 bike or pedestrian collisions just last year. That's why Garnett was highlighted in San Diego's Vision Zero plan, which aims to eliminate all traffic deaths in the city by 2025. It's also called out for improvements in the city's bicycle master plan, which aims to build a citywide bike network. I asked Kean on a scale of 1 to 10, how would she rate the city's progress?
I would say we're probably a 5 or 6. We've done the easier pieces. If there was room on a street for a bike lane, we've provided that bike lane on that street. Now we're in the difficult parts, filling those gaps, and that's going to be harder, and it's going to take more money and more political will to get those done.
More money because often there's a need for a bike lane, but not enough space to create one without a substantial re-engineering of the street. And more political will because sometimes that re-engineering requires taking away on-street parking or a travel lane currently dedicated to cars. Some residents and business owners see those things as deal breakers.
Change is scary for people, and their businesses are on the line. So I understand the fear in that conversation. But what I think is, as we do more of these projects, as we have ambitious plans and we start to install that infrastructure, people will see that it's possible to live without some of that on-street parking, that it makes a difference, that makes their neighborhood better to install this infrastructure for bicyclists, to make it easier and safer for people to ride their bikes.
We have a number of projects in the works now. We have a number of projects that we've completed.
Linda Morabian is a deputy director in the city's transportation department. She says the city isn't just taking the cheap and easy route to building the city's bike network.
We have just received over $5 million for University Avenue improvements, multimodal improvements. That's going to be a big project too. We're taking away a travel lane to put in bike facilities. We're widening sidewalks. We're doing traffic calming. We're actually replacing traffic signals with roundabouts. Those are big, big projects. That's just in the past year.
There are other examples of projects the city has put forward that have not lived up to the vision that's part of the bike master plan. El Cajon Boulevard is supposed to have a painted bike lane, but when city traffic engineers recently redesigned a section of the boulevard, most of the project area had no bike lanes at all. Morabian says that's because the city has to balance the needs of all modes of transportation.
It's about the car, it's about the cyclist, it's about the pedestrian, it's about transit. So it's about all the modes. So we are constantly balancing improvements for all the modes.
Morabian and her staff are about to start working with Kean and the Bike Advisory Committee on ways to improve the build-out of the city's bike network.
We have a lot of work to do.
One of the biggest challenges is measuring success. Counting bicyclists is harder than counting cars, and San Diego needs good data on cycling to make sure it's doing enough to get more people out of cars and onto bicycles. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
State legislative leaders say they'll continue to use the services of former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder to help with legal challenges to the Trump administration on issues like immigration and the environment.
He's been advising us on environmental protections. We're ready to move forward with litigation. Luckily, we did not move forward as of yet, given the fact that Scott Pruitt and the national EPA has not revoked the California Clean Air Waiver Act yet. They're trying to figure out how they can do this to try to inoculate this themselves as best as possible.
Holder was retained last year at a rate of about $25,000 per month. His contract was slated to end this month, but will be extended. California Republicans have called Holder's retention a PR stunt.
On Roundtable tonight, we look at the questions still surrounding the University City mass shooting and surrounding DA Bonnie DeMonis as she announces her departure and tries to anoint her successor. Join us tonight at 8:30.
The president is in a peculiar position. He runs the country, advised by his daughter and son-in-law. He also profits from his own Trump organization, which is run by his sons. As NPR's Marilyn Gieswax reports, this arrangement has spurred a number of conflict of interest concerns.
Ever since he won the election, Trump the president has done little to separate himself from Trump the businessman. Most ethics and conflict of interest concerns about the president and the First Family stem from the fact that Trump continues to own hundreds of businesses operating under the umbrella name the Trump Organization. Trump the man and Trump the organization are arguably inseparable. President Trump has stepped down from managing them and put them into a trust. But his trust isn't really blind. Trump knows exactly what's in the trust, and his trust is being run by his two oldest sons and his longtime attorney. Those are the same people who manage the businesses themselves. Trump is the only beneficiary of the trust, and he can withdraw money from the trust whenever he wants it, and he can do that without disclosing it to the public. Which takes us to the one key thing we don't know: anything about Trump's actual financial holdings. We don't know much about Trump's debts. Who does he owe money to? We don't actually know where his money comes from. Some of this information would show up on Trump's tax returns, but remember that Trump is the first president since the 1970s not to release his tax returns to provide transparency for the public. This has prompted accusations that Trump is violating the Emoluments Clause of the U.S. Constitution that prohibits office holders from accepting foreign gifts or perks without congressional approval. The idea of it was to prevent foreign governments from influencing U.S. officials, and it really hasn't come up in the modern era until President Trump. Short of a constitutional violation, the broad concern is the blurry line between Trump's businesses and his presidency. On weekends, Trump the president has been known to travel to Mar-a-Lago. That's the luxury resort that belongs to Trump the businessman. This is also where he has invited foreign dignitaries to meet him on official visits, and ethics experts raise questions about how much of the taxpayers' money spent on these trips and meetings goes to the Trump Organization, or whether Mar-a-Lago profits from the free publicity. Trump the businessman profits from properties and businesses all around the world. So how do we know if it's not a bribe when a foreign government or a power broker spends money at a Trump business or approves a trademark for him or a golf course? How do we hold Trump, the president, accountable? The most powerful watchdog is Congress. It has vast subpoena powers, and Republicans who control Congress have launched a few investigations into the Trump administration, but they've been related to national security issues. But there have been no significant investigations related to Trump's conflicts of interest.
A Michigan woman has made it her mission to find new homes for old pets. Her nonprofit focuses on pets whose owners have been diagnosed with a terminal illness or are otherwise unable to care for them. AP reporter Mike Householder has the story.
Poppy doesn't get around as well as she used to.
Poppy is an old gal. She's 15 years old. She has arthritis really bad. Her owner had to go to assisted living and couldn't care for her anymore.
It's a problem that affects aging pets and their owners. Enter Tyson's Place Animal Rescue, which steps in when owners have been diagnosed with a terminal illness or are otherwise unable to care for their pets.
For me, it's like giving a voice to the voiceless. That's the reason I do everything. These animals can't talk and tell you what they want.
Jill Bannock Albrecht founded the Michigan nonprofit after working in a shelter with a 50% euthanasia rate.
Tyson was one of the cats there. 3 times he came up to be euthanized because he was too old. He was only 5 years old, but people consider that too old, and I took him home.
In the 3 years since opening Tyson's, Bannock Albrecht has found new owners for several dozen older pets, including Klaus.
Because of my mother's declining health and my father's, they needed to go to an assisted care living place, and due to her dementia, we knew that we had to find another home for Klaus.
Tyson's acknowledges that some animals are more challenging than others to find new homes for, but not impossible.
There's got to be someone out there for everyone.
You want a treat?
Like 15-year-old Bosco. One of his owners had dementia, the other died from cancer. The rat terrier was also plagued with health issues, including a wart on his head, a mouthful of bad teeth, and a kidney infection. Luckily, the Gray Muzzle organization came to the rescue. The national group that helps homeless senior dogs gave a $500 grant to Tyson's Place that was used in part to help treat Bosco.
One of the greatest treasures of adopting a senior dog is knowing that you're giving that dog a second chance.
Which is how Bosco ended up with Jen Wilson and her husband Frank. His newfound happiness is contagious.
He's a wonderful dog. He's brought us a lot of joy.
If all goes according to plan, Poppy will be the next old dog to live out his golden years with a new family. Mike Householder, Associated Press, Fenville, Michigan.
A stormy weekend ahead for San Diego. Regina Miller has more in tonight's forecast.
Well, we have a system that is dropping in here to California, an area of low pressure forming, and that is going to lead to an unsettled weekend with clouds, some showers and thunderstorms even into Southern California. So taking a look at the satellite and radar, looking quiet right now around Borrego Springs down to Ramona and Camp Pendleton, a few clouds coming in. But for tonight, we'll have some spotty drizzle around late, increasing clouds as well, and a temperature of 61 degrees in the metro areas. Borrego Springs, you'll be at 64 degrees. Mount Laguna, 44 degrees. And Alpine, 53 for your overnight low. And here's that disturbance I mentioned. It's going to be sitting over Nevada. The showers, they even with this frontal boundary, windy conditions, cooler here along the coast, and we'll have windy conditions even all around the system with the chance for some showers and even some thunderstorms in the area. So along the coast, 67 degrees. There'll be a shower around in spots in the afternoon after those morning clouds. And as we head into your Sunday, there could be a heavy thunderstorm around, possibly even some hail. It's staying cool, 65 degrees. Showers and thunderstorms around on Monday as well at 69. Maybe a few spotty showers on Tuesday at 69. Wednesday, clouds should start to break for some sun, but we still can't rule out a shower at 70 degrees. Inland locations not as warm, 68 degrees on Saturday, and we're only at 64 degrees on Sunday. Heavy thunderstorm around on Sunday, and as I mentioned, there could even be the possibility for some hail or the gusty, damaging winds. Showers and thunderstorms on Monday and 71 degrees, perhaps a few lingering spotty showers on Tuesday at 71. Wednesday, there still could be a shower around, otherwise clouds starting to break for some sunshine at 74 degrees. In the mountain locations, windy, snow levels dropping to around 4,000 feet as we go through the weekend with that disturbance moving in. So cooler on Saturday at 51 degrees with a shower around the area. Then on Sunday, a little snow, and we're only in the 30s, 38 degrees for your daytime high. On Monday, snow showers and 46 degrees. On Tuesday, we have a couple of spotty showers still around the area at 53. It gets warmer with still a chance for a shower on Wednesday and a high temperature of 63 degrees. I'm Regina Miller, KPBS News.
For decades, environmental laws have protected North America's trumpeter swan from sport hunting. But every year, the birds fall victim to one of hunting's toxic legacies. In tonight's EarthFix report, Gin Christensen tells us a small group of scientists and volunteers may be their only chance of survival.
Daniel Zimmerman is on a hunt. His target? The largest waterfowl in North America, the trumpeter swan.
Sometimes there might be a cat and mouse game.
Zimmerman always outlasts them.
You're gonna get that swan when it starts to tire out.
But giving up may be their only chance of survival, because these swans are sick with lead poisoning.
And they're dying from it. And so we go over there and try to get taken care of.
Zimmerman is part of a small group of scientists and volunteers in Washington state who are trying to save them. Today, he finds about 10 swans showing symptoms of lead toxicity.
Apparently they're feeding all in the same field or wherever they were.
Every winter, trumpeter swans migrate from Alaska to the Pacific Northwest in search of food, but they end up eating something they shouldn't. Lead hunting ammunition. A single shotgun shell can contain more than 200 toxic lead pellets. Hunters have used them for centuries, and they dot the region's landscape.
It could take from one of those to maybe 10 to kill a swan.
Like other waterfowl, swans eat rocks and pebbles to help them grind up and digest their food. And lead ammunition looks no different. Wildlife officials say this kind of lead poisoning has killed hundreds of swans a year in the Pacific Northwest since the late 1990s. The lead poisoning may kill as many as 20 million animals nationwide each year, according to the Humane Society of the United States. Scientists first noticed the swan die-offs at Judson Lake on the Canadian border. They used bamboo poles to stop the birds from landing on the lake, and death rates dropped 80%. But since then, other toxic hotspots have popped up.
There's a big deposit of lead, and it's just kind of all over, and there's only so much you can do.
One thing he can do is bring the sick swans here, the Whatcom Wildlife Rehabilitation Center near Mount Baker. In the past 2 years, Alicia Ellsby has had more patients than usual.
We saw a very high jump in swans. Normally it's 13 to 15 that we see. We got in 121 last year.
Ellsby first analyzes the swans' lead levels. A few of them show signs of hope. It will take Ellsby 2 months to remove the lead from their bodies. She feeds them and medicates them twice a day.
It's definitely the best thing when they come in with a lead level that we can treat. It is worth it even for one patient.
But she expects her workload will only increase. In recent years, the trumpeter swan population has been rising in North America, and so has the amount of lead in the environment. Lead ammunition is banned in waterfowl hunting, but legal under other circumstances across the country. Ellsby says other patients like bald eagles and hawks also come in with lead poisoning.
It would be nice to see lead being banned in all cases and not have the chance to get into the environment.
Regardless of a change in laws, wildlife officials expect sick swans to keep turning up.
Hi, I just got your call about the swan.
And Zimmerman to keep tracking them down.
That story comes to us from EarthFix, an environmental reporting project made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
I'm Hari Srinivasan. On the next news hour, we report from Paris on the eve of France's presidential election. That's Friday on the PBS NewsHour.
Three years ago, director James Gunn took one of Marvel's lesser-known titles, Guardians of the Galaxy, and turned it into a blockbuster hit. Now those wacky space adventurers are back. And KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says Volume 2 looks to be a chartbuster.
It's rare that a sequel leaves you as satisfied as its predecessor, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 understands exactly what people loved about the first film, the dysfunctional family dynamics of its characters, and delivers it again.
Now repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone!
The film's charm is that the CGI effects in saving the universe take a backseat to the interplay among the characters.
You feel love.
Yeah, I feel a general unselfish love for just about everybody.
No, sexual love.
No, I don't.
For her.
No!
Honestly, I could care less what the story is about, because all I really want is an opportunity to spend more time with these lovable misfits. And despite all the jokiness, it's also a film with a lot of heart. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition.